Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are going to do a review on a movie that I just recently acquired from a Vinegar Syndrome partner label. This partner label is Dark Star Pictures. It is one that I'm not too familiar with. I think I maybe have one other release by them. But the film that I'm talking about, of course, is Al Murillo a la Matinee, otherwise known as The Last Matinee, or Matinee. This movie is disgusting. This movie made me want to throw up multiple times throughout its runtime. And that's what I look for when it comes to a horror film, is whether I want to throw up during its runtime. So, just to get it out of the way, this is definitely a homage to the theater horror genre. I don't even know if there's a genre named after the typical setting of a movie theater. I have here Midnight Movie, which is a movie that I reviewed really fucking high a couple months ago during my Spooktober watch through. And this movie is identical to this movie, except there's a lot more better sequences in this movie than there is in this shitty 2000s era horror film. But at the base of it, the story of the movie is a serial killer enters a movie theater and he wants people's eyeballs. It is very reminiscent of another film that I have reviewed on this channel, which is Anguish, which stars Zelda Rubinstein. If you saw my haul video, I kind of discussed this, but she has a psychic connection to her son and kind of tells him, like, hey, you need to get this person's eyeball. And the only way to do this is by psychotically connecting to me so I can tell you how to get away without anyone knowing. And it's really interesting. I really like Anguish. I think it's still very slightly better than this. This is just a better film in general. I really enjoyed this one. The horror sequences are great. It's a Giallo film from 2020, just 2 years ago, technically. And it's a Giallo film. I mean, I talked about Wax Mask by the partnership between Lucio Fulci and Dario Argento. And that was back in like 1996, like 1997 maybe. And I talked about how impossible it was, that it was such a perfect film in terms of the Giallo genre. And the Giallo genre was in its peak in the 70s. So 50 years later, there's a Giallo film that's still fucking nailing it. Nailing the aesthetics, nailing the score. The score in this movie is phenomenal. It's very synthesizer heavy. And then just the cinematography is just out of this world. I mean, the fact that they have been really leaning on color contrast throughout this film was just so wonderful to me, because that's one of my favorite parts of Dario Argento's Suspiria, is looking at the different color schemes of the reds and the whites and the greens and all that. And this movie nailed it. This movie has so many great shots throughout this film where you can just pause it, screen capture it, and put it as your desktop background. And I did not watch any of the extras. I'm just kind of giving a review, just a reaction, technically, of what I thought about this movie. Because this is a first watch, and there's a reason why there's a giant eyeball right there. The thing that holds this movie back, in my opinion, and why I prefer still Anguish, the movie, is that the villain is not at all given any background info, is given no character. He's the Giallo killer. And if you've seen Dario Argento Giallo films, the charm behind his movies in the Giallo kind of area is that the killers are very unexpected. They are just out of nowhere within the last 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And it's like, oh, this is why I've been killing everyone. You're like, what? What the fuck is going on? And this doesn't do that. He is just like, the first shot of the movie is the killer approaching the theater. And we don't know his motivation. We don't know who he is, nothing. And this was the one setback, in my opinion. While Anguish, we delved very deep into the psychology of the killer that Zelda Rubinstein is controlling telepathically. And watching this movie is a much better film than Anguish. Anguish still doesn't have a Blu-ray release, which is shocking to me because that's still the best theater-centric setting film, in my opinion. But this movie, considering when it was made, 2020, just 2 years ago, it is very effective. I mean, all of the gore effects, all of the kills are very effective. There were many times where I was like just covering my eyes because, first of all, I've said this before, I hate eye injuries. I do not want to see people's eyeballs getting penetrated with any sharp objects. That is something I just can't stand. I don't know why. It's something I've just always been not a fan of. And this movie makes it very effective. There are times where our main killer, because he collects eyeballs, he cuts off his own eye and starts eating it. And the whole time I'm just like, oh, just like freaking out. Because it is so disgusting. His jar of eyeballs that he has, that he's been cutting everyone's eyeballs and putting in, like a pickle jar, he drops it at one point and it shatters, and he's like stepping on the eyeballs, and it's so disgusting. Oh my gosh. And then the way that he kills everybody in the theater, because the thing that I kind of had an issue with Anguish, and to a lesser extent Midnight Movie, is that the kills that the serial killer was doing, the entire theater was full. There are 100 people in the theater, and they don't notice the kills. In this movie, 4 people are in the theater. So it's very easy for the killer to do what he needs to do. And this is why I like Anguish a little better. Actually, no, I don't. In this regard, this is a better movie than Anguish. Because Anguish is like 100 people in the theater. And slowly, one by one, everyone's getting killed. And there's 100 people in there. Like, nope, someone would notice. And someone notices pretty quickly in this movie. It's like, hey, that's kind of weird. That guy and girl has been kissing for like 30 minutes now. He's like, oh, that could be nothing, says the friend of the woman who spots that. And it's like, nope, that's weird. I'm going down there. Oh, shit, the serial killer is loose. And then the movie turns into something else. So, yeah. This movie was probably a best of both worlds, in my opinion, when it comes to Anguish and Midnight Movie. This shitty movie. Midnight Movie. Because Midnight Movie had the supernatural bits, had the kills, very cool kills, and then Anguish had the like really weird cerebral moments. And then what this movie did in particular is take all those elements from both of those films. I don't know if the director was influenced by it or not, but I imagine he took the very strong elements of both movies and just combined them both and made a Giallo. It's taking place in a theater where guys collect eyeballs. So, yeah. I enjoyed this movie a lot. This is one that I will rewatch probably every year. Maybe even more than that. Just so I can be more in tune with the movie theater. I don't even know what the genre title would be for this type of film, where a serial killer comes into a movie theater and kills people off. There's this movie, Midnight Movie, Anguish. I'm sure there's many more that I don't know about. But what's nice is that throughout this movie we get a lot of posters of different movies that are just happening. One of my favorite posters I kept going, like Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he would get up and be, "Pooh, oh my gosh, I know that." He would, the poster that I'm talking about is Opera by Dario Argento, which is in need of a good Blu-ray release that is within, a good price range. That's not $80. Excuse me, Synapse Films. Don't make your fucking standalone movie $80 for your release. That's aside from the point. But, there's a lot of great homages to classic films in this. I mean, the main film that they show is a knockoff. Sounds like a Severin film, in my opinion. Frankenstein, Day of the Beast. There is a Day of the Beast film in the Severin catalog, but I don't know if it's this specific one. But this movie was just so dang good. I'm really happy I saw this. Thank you, Leon, for recommending this to me and convincing me how, by describing it exactly the way that Anguish was. Because I guess I'm becoming an expert in this genre. Let me know what you guys will call this genre, because I have no idea. Theater-Giallo? I don't know. I would need to give a thought, but thank you all so much for watching this. This was a definite spur-of-the-moment review. I didn't think I would like this as much as I did. It's just a great release. I love the slipcover. Error Video is doing a 4K release, which I believe a lot of people are waiting for. And rather than buying this version, they're going to wait for the Error Video version, because there's a lot more extras. But judging from the back here, on this left side here, there's a lot of extras. There's music videos, documentaries, interviews, a director commentary, which is always lovely to have. But yeah, that is my review. Thank you all for watching.